All right, everybody, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case. Over on Rumble, of course, we will unpause and repause just to make sure. There's quite a bit of news today, actually. Once again, my docket is, I think, about 16 entries or something like that. Clearly, I'm not going to be able to get to them all. That's because there's so much breaking news. We could talk about the church burning, but it's still kind of up in the air what the hell happened there. And of course, the rumor mill will flow. So I'm going to avoid that for right now and probably move that to tomorrow when hopefully the smoke is cleared, literally and figuratively. And we know what the hell is going on also with that boating incident there. Shots fired from a boat down in, I believe it was South Carolina, if I remember correctly. So those are news stories that I'm going to wait for a few more details because jumping the gun, it gets you views. It's definitely clickbait, but I prefer not to do it. Instead, we're going to talk about other things. Trump announces 100% tariff on foreign-made movies. This is fairly big. There's some nuance here, though, that we've got to clear up because I'm seeing a lot of people saying, oh my God, so what about Passion of the Christ? That wouldn't be allowed anymore. You got to understand there's a difference between foreign-made and has scenes from a foreign country. We'll get into that because a lot of the liberals are trying to attack him on this, and it's pretty funny, actually. Eric Adams dropped out in the New York mayor's race. It's not going to help Cuomo, though. I predict that Mamdani will be the next mayor of New York City. Even if Sliwa does drop out, he's got like the commie hat thing going on anyway, so probably most of his votes would just go to Mamdani. I think that he's pretty much inevitable at this point. I, by the way, do not care whether I'm proven wrong on this. If he wins, the left loses. If he loses, the left loses. It's a win-win situation for everyone who's not a communist, actually. FBI agents fired after kneeling at George Floyd protest in 2020. Yeah, they finally got their comeuppance for using their job time, where the taxpayers are funding them, that is, by the way, meaningful, to conduct a protest on behalf of somebody who overdosed and shit. Professor fighting dismissal for calling Charlie Kirk a Nazi handed legal win, fueling free speech debate. We'll be slogging into that debate. It's one where a lot of people don't really have a nuanced view, and that's what pisses me off. You can support a person's right to speak without supporting what they're speaking, for example. Leftists and some right-wingers don't appear to appreciate this. Tarred and feathered. Radio astronomers picking up signal from mysterious comet 3 Atlas. Huh. If you can get that to me like by Twitter DM, I'd definitely want to cover that. And then, oh God, this is going to be a funny one. Well, I mean, it's sort of grave humor when you think about it. First cousin marriage has benefits, says NHS guidance despite birth defect risk. Yes, the British Health Service is now telling people that first cousin marriage is actually beneficial. We'll get into the fairly obvious reason why that they're doing this. We'll get into those reasons. And we might get to the New York City casino story as well. I don't think we'll get anything further than that. Yep. Yeah, first cousin marriage, man. It's like really great, man. Now, yeah, I mean, being an island, the British have had some inbreeding in the past. Encouraging it is a little bit different than simply tolerating it. So we're going to get into that particular story. Mama Pete, I love your transcriptions. Transcriptions. Do you mean the books that I've edited? Or do you mean like the linguistic transcriptions of what I'm saying on here, like the subtitles? I don't know. Yes, H, you got it right. Gonna get some cousin lovin'. I thought it was like hillbilly Americans were the ones that, oh, you're doing that there cousin lovin'. Have you seen my cousin? You'd want to screw her too, even if she was your sister. That's sort of the stereotype. But that's not actually where most of the inbreeding in the world is coming from. Let's put it that way. I think that there are other cultures, South Asian Arabia, that are more tolerant of that sort of thing, and in fact, in some cases, it's actively encouraged. There's a little bit of a delineation between the two of them, by the way. So let's get to the movie tariffs before we get to our sponsors and the rest of the news. This will be the main story of the day. Trump announced earlier that he was going to put a 100% tariff on foreign-made movies. Some people are misconstruing this vastly. They're saying, oh my god, so how are we going to make Indiana Jones? You might need a scene out in the desert. Are you saying that you have to go to the Sonora Desert because you're not allowed to go to the Sahara Desert? That's not what it means. It doesn't mean that you can't film a movie based in India, or you can't film a movie based in Mexico, and avoid the tariff. It means that the production of the movie either is US based or is not. If it's a foreign made film by a company registered under a foreign government, so maybe it's Vietnam, and often Canada, by the way, Vancouver is going to suffer. Many people have pointed that out. Vancouver often used as a shooting location for movies that supposedly take place somewhere in the upper northwest of the United States. It'll hurt them. It's not going to hurt U.S. film industry. Actually, it'll help them. What you're more likely to get is a bunch of independent films and stuff like that. I think this will be a good thing for the movie industry, because U.S. films will no longer be competing with film industries in other countries where they don't really have unions, they don't really have like workers' rights and stuff, and so people get paid peanuts in order to make movies. By the way, I would point out there's no restriction at the moment on movies coming into the U.S., but there is a restriction on U.S. movies into other countries. For instance, if you want to make a movie in the United States, and it's based in China, maybe it's dubbed into Chinese or something, the Chinese will look into that movie and scrutinize it for a considerable length of time before they decide yay or nay, this is not in keeping with our culture's values. While I do not want the U.S. government policing the cultural values of film, or music, or literature, or anything like that, I see it as a First Amendment issue. Putting a tariff on it for industrial reasons, well, people in China don't have First Amendment protections. They're not here. They're in China. They are not nationals in the United States. They are Chinese nationals. There you go. It's as simple as that. This is not going to damage the ability of the U.S. Music industry or film industry or whatever it happens to be, regardless of how far he extends the tariffs, by the way. Soundtracks could be involved, I suppose. It's not going to prevent them from filming outside of the U.S. It's not going to prevent them from doing anything, really. It's just going to shield them from other countries that are pumping movies into the United States, tariff-free, of course, and sometimes being, undermining values and stuff like that. That's what I'm talking about. Deeper center press. The cuter the cousin, the less downs are possible. Yeah, I'm sure we're going to be talking about that at length, because the British NHS really has... I don't know exactly what they're thinking. I mean, I know the reason behind it. It has to do with certain immigrant groups. We'll have to mince our words when we talk about the news story for a reason. That being said, the fact that they would openly announce this and, say, oh my god, first cousin marriage is great. That's a little bit odd. So no, don't worry. U.S. Film firms will be able to take shots and stuff like that outside of the United States. It's just a matter of whether it was produced and distributed from within the United States. If it is, no tariff, because nothing's being imported. That's the whole point. If it's foreign in manufacture and it's coming into the United States, then it would be tariffed at 100%. Sigil Stone is here. Man, I need some Vegemite. This time I'm starting off the day with some Vegemite to start the day right. I'll never stop eating it. You cannot stop me. It is impossible. It will be anarchy. Breakfast Club. Great movie. Last Beacon. Hey, Sticks. Ping us. That's what I'm talking about. We got Cuban, we got Sigil, we got Copium, we got Beacon. We got Tarred and Feathered, we got the whole gang here, man. BW, is Adams' dropout bad for Mamdani? Poor showing from Feds in Portland last night. Yeah, I saw that. No, Mamdani will win. He will be the next mayor of New York City. Cuomo has slipped far too low, I think, in the polls. And Eric Adams dropping out doesn't really move the metric. He was distantly behind both of them. Basically, it's Mamdani or Cuomo. If Sliwa were to drop out and him and Adams were to very, very vocally back Cuomo, you might be able to build a coalition to get close to the 50-50 mark. I'm just not seeing it, though. I have a feeling that socialism will rule New York City soon, and the commie Mamdani will ruin it. And then, again, it's a win-win. Now, we'll discuss that in a bit. Let's get to our sponsors, though, first. Oh, and Dan Malone 53 sent $5. No comment. Thank you very much. Yeah, let's get to the sponsors first, because we love them. We have cultivated-mind.com, where you can get mushroom pills, the kind of which I take every single morning. Usually 2 at this point. Boost my energy even further. It's good for longevity. It's good for overall health. It helps with mental function, and it appears to be neuroregenerative. I've mentioned this a number of times. May not be a physician, but in my own personal opinion, it's neuroregenerative. I have various reasons for believing this. They've also got doggo snacks, and doggos fucking love them. That's not anecdotal, that's just the doggo will eat them. We've got BiltongUSA.com, where Anton can supply you with a variety of imported goods, as well as various meats. We've got Wagyu, Angus, Cabanassi, venison, bison, everything under the sun, basically. Some of it is spicy, too. Keep in mind that I did the one-chip challenge, so you may not want to take my advice on what spicy actually pertains to, because maybe some people will end up, like, literally rinsing their mouth out with yogurt or something like that. Also got Stick, Sex, and Hammer cups, mugs, tumblers, and shirts available as well. And finally, jamandbean.com. That is JAMNbean.com. Based in Michigan. They can get you all sorts of good stuff. They can get you coffee. We've got the Clanker blend, of course. Among others, the Costa Rica blend is also good. And also they got a bunch of teas available as well. The Yunnan Jig will still probably always be my favorite. It's almost nostalgic because it tastes exactly the same, only an upgraded version of the black tea they used to sell at the Kong Chow restaurant here in Rutland, which unfortunately closed down. Friendship tea is good. Jolly Pear is good. The Healer is good. Yeah, I've liked all of them. Gonna have some of the jasmine tea tonight, I think. Use code STICKS, by the way, on all of these sites, I believe, for a discount. Cooking Inferno, hey, are you going to be at your own counter-protest on October 18th? If so, what is your protest position? Well, these are a bunch of anti-MAGA individuals. I will be making an announcement sooner before it actually happens. Probably on the 1st, I would think. There are a bunch of leftoids. They're part of the No Kings thing. It's kind of cringe. And their whole idea is, well, Donald Trump bad. And I would have questioned them before, but, I was alone, so I didn't think to. I'm figuring, it's not really worth the effort. Wanted to question them on, well, why do you dislike Trump? Can you name the top 3 reasons? I have a feeling it'll be, well, he's stupid, he's evil, very general things, stuff like that. And that there will be no real nuance that can't be combated. So yeah, we're going to storm their protest. It will be peaceful. There will be no violence allowed. Please do not bring weapons. They're leftoids. They don't know how to fight. They probably don't know how to fire a gun, so I wouldn't worry too much. Also, Vermont leftoids, they tend not to be violent. And it's not like the West Coast leftoids. But yeah, I will be going there. Even if I'm on my own, I'll still be interviewing some people and questioning them. Maybe I'll set up a little desk Crowder style across the road. Trump is actually doing well. Change my mind. That'd be funny. Last beacon. In all honesty, I believe that New York is absolutely fucked, and they would rather have New York be fucked. Honestly, this whole damn country has become so backward ever since January 6th. I don't know, I liked my time in New York City when I was there. And then you'll see the former residents of New York fleeing to other parts of the country and then screwing up the rest of the country. No, because the people that flee are the ones that want to leave that sort of nonsense. It's the same thing with Californian expats. They didn't turn Texas red. I'll guarantee you within 20 to 40 years from now, America is going to be a burning tire dump, and that you'll probably see Russia or probably the BRICS countries try to fix the mess or try. I will take that bet. I do not believe that will happen. Yeah, I think we'll be fine. I believe in the American spirit, so to speak. Call me naive if you want. Mikuhuntu. Guys, Robinson's appointed lawyer might be a Karen. Goodness. BW. Are we doomed to be like the UK once Trump leaves? No, I don't think so. The left is making so many mistakes, I think it might go in the other direction. With Eric Adams out, we'll talk about Mamdani now. New Yorkers dreading Zoran Mamdani must get out and vote. Yeah, but the problem is there aren't enough of them. I have a feeling that Mamdani will be the next mayor. And there are basically two possibilities, okay? He's a commie. So he doesn't know how to balance a budget. He believes in rental price freezing and government-run grocery stores and a plethora of other things that have been tried, and they have almost universally failed. So basically, the possibilities if he's elected are he goes ahead with these policies, gets them through, they fuck up New York City, he ends up getting kicked back out. And the Democratic Party, which is not disavowing him, he didn't disavow that one terrorist there that ended up fleeing to Cuba after escaping jail, can't remember her name, Asura or something like that. And so he either fails, or he fails to implement those policies, basically becomes a younger version of Cuomo, and New Yorkers on the left who voted for him will be like, what the fuck? This isn't what I voted for. I wanted, subsidized groceries and free housing and stuff like that. Instead, everything's the same. One of these two things, if he is elected, will be true. Either way, New York City suffers, the Democrats get egg on their face, so I don't care. I mean, I would say, well, you should vote Cuomo. Fuck Cuomo. Who cares? It doesn't matter who's running New York City. It's not going to be somebody on the centrist end of politics. It's going to be an extremist. It's just a level of how extreme do you want it? It's like, do you want it to be like sucking on a lemon or a lime? Or do you want it to be pure citric acid? That's the only choice that New Yorkers at this point have. It's funny how when you say New Yorkers, usually it's meant people from New York City, even though there's a whole state attached and they're all New Yorkers too. Just saying, as somebody on a state that borders upstate New York, it is kind of funny to me. We laugh about it, us Vermonters. Last weekend, in all honesty, once Giuliani left New York and had Michael Bloomberg in for 3 terms in different parties, New York was doomed, and then you had Bill de Blasio for 2 terms, and that fucked New York. Yeah, Giuliani was the last person to lead the city that actually attempted to care. Which is why he's the only one that's been prosecuted. Now, I think that Mamdani will win. Eric Adams dropping out maybe moves the needle a little bit, but Cuomo's struggling to hit like 25, and Mamdani is in the mid-40s. The writing is pretty much on the wall. There are still quite a few undecideds, but you would need an extensive, well-organized pressure campaign in order to get word out to people like, look what Mamdani is proposing. These are the reasons why it won't work. For instance, rental freezes. Sounds great. People can stay in their homes. See, the problem is that now revenue is falling. Properties that could be, renovated and so forth, they're not. There's no reason for anyone to invest in them. Landlords will simply sell their properties to BlackRock and get out of the business entirely if they're smart. And so you get a consolidation of rental power as well all over New York City. As far as government grocery stores, Mamdani's people swear up and down that they're actually going to be helping local like grocery stores and stuff. Bullshit! When the fuck has that ever happened? Oh yeah, it'll actually be helpful for these small businesses and regional chains. How? Can you please explain to me, give me one singular reason why this would be the case? Mamdani, all he does is spout platitudes, vague sloganeering. He doesn't want to get into the nitty-gritty of how his plans actually will work because they can't work. So he implements them and they fail, or he doesn't implement them and then he fails anyway. It doesn't matter what he does. Literally, neither one is actually going to improve anyone's life in New York City. BW, is Mamdani win a bellwether? I don't think so, but no, it is not a bellwether. This is New York City, so this is a place where people tend to lean left. There are conservative areas, Staten Island, for example, parts of Brooklyn, but it is overwhelmingly left-leaning. So Mamdani is not really a bellwether. He wouldn't be able to win in small-town America or in a red state or anything like that. But, I mean, it would be funny if he gets elected, he'll fail, one way or the other, and then we can laugh at him. At the expense of everyone and the millions of people that live in New York City, I suppose. I don't wish ill on New York City residents. Actually, I had quite a great time in New York City. But, I mean, you know, you're going to have to take your lumps, I suppose. You need to be taught, hey, this is what happens when you dabble with socialism. Things fall apart, just like a Yugo or something like that. Last speaking, all I can say is send once Mamdani gets in, I will guarantee you that you'll see further and further land development in Florida. Yeah. Cooking Inferno, I love the Giuliani years in Manhattan. Still in my early 20s, city was safe, things look nice. Now Manhattan looks like a Jakarta slum more often than not. Yeah, you gotta go over to Brooklyn if you want to see some good shit. I really liked it there. I think if I had to live in New York City, I'd choose Brooklyn. Definitely. Probably on the south end. Last Beacon, that's part of the whole reason why I'm getting tired of the whole no kings nonsense. They're the most backwards people ever. All because Republicans won't play the whole verbal hopscotch. Yeah, I mean, the idea of Donald Trump being a king, he's a pretty defanged king now, isn't he? Since everything that he does is injuncted by a court. They don't like it when you bring that up, by the way. Well, yeah, but he's trying. Yeah, and he's this vicious tyrant. He can't even get a bill passed. He doesn't even have the will half the time of his own Republican legislature, so no, he's not being a king. He's enforcing laws that were incepted by previous congressional groups long before he was ever in office. Our immigration policy did not begin this year. They don't want to understand that. FBI agents fired after kneeling at George Floyd protest in 2020. The FBI Agents Association called dismissals unlawful and urged Congress to investigate FBI Director Kash Patel. I am not a fan of Patel, and I'm not a fan of the FBI in general. It should have been phased out long ago. It's vestigial. It's useless. But now that Patel actually does something that is reasonable, that is sane, all of a sudden now the left has a problem with it. Here's my thought. If an FBI agent wants to take the knee for a dead drug addict, off the clock, out of uniform, I don't give a shit. Same with a cop, a judge, anyone like that. I don't care. People have bias. We've got to get over that fact. We know it. You know it. I know it. Everyone has political and social biases, religious biases, and things like that. This is just a part and parcel of being human. But to express it on the taxpayer dole, which is what these agents were doing, they were on the clock, in uniform, representing ostensibly a bureau within the United States of America, paid for by taxpayers. To do that is a dereliction of duty. Absolutely, they should be fired. And I'm glad they're gone. They weren't doing their job. Oh, people are protesting. You know, instead of maintaining our position so that we can defend whatever the fuck we're defending, we're just going to take the knee and smile for the cameras. It was nothing more than clout-seeking bullshit. It was cringe as fuck. More than anything else, it was cringe. Last weekend, that's the whole reason why Donald Trump got in the first place. People were tired of the verbal hopscotch, yes. Swamp Donkey. Donkey. We cannot be against communism, we must be actively anti-communist. We also must outlaw foreign nations lobbying in the US and buying media. I agree. Yes, foreign lobbying should absolutely be outlawed. It doesn't matter if it's an allied nation or not, by the way, because alliances shift. Last weekend, I don't really believe in the American spirit. I may have in the 2000s, but the American spirit has been beaten out of it around 2015. I disagree with you. I think that it's actually re-rising at this time. Last weekend, and we're just limping along towards our deathbed. You are extremely black-pilled, my fellow. You need to listen to more of my content. I'll white-pill you if it's the last thing that I do. Yeah, we've got all sorts of advantages. We're not going to disappear as a nation. We just have to safeguard our civic independence. By the way, I was watching The Patriot last night. Didn't get to the end of the movie. The one with Mel Gibson. Really, really great movie, by the way. It's got the perfect mix of a little bit of emotion, a lot of bit of violence, plenty of nice battle scenes. And I'm building that pirate ship, by the way. So that'll be in the background. I'm hoping to get it done tonight while watching The Patriot, because I like pirates. Rapture Farms. What is white pill and black pill? White pill is everything will be fine. Black pill is everything is terrible. I prefer something in between. It's like, no, not everything is fine, but it is fixable. So I prefer to be leaning towards the optimistic side. Bobby Bobinson, do you have pirate pussy? There's no females aboard that particular ship. It's actually really cool. I got the entire hull mainly constructed. Now I've got to rig the masts and stuff. That'll take a little longer. Last weekend, I believe that we're doomed. Call me uber black-pilled all you want, but I've seen how bad it's gotten. Yeah, but as you get older, you also can get nostalgic. Oh, things are so much better when I was a kid. Yeah, because you didn't have to take care of yourself 24/7, so don't get black-pilled. They will never be satisfied until the right wing kisses the altar of democracy and gets on bended knee and apologizes for January 6th. That won't happen. We're moving in the other direction. Sigil, have you watched Space King Episode 3 yet? No, I haven't, actually. Or you can take the iron pill and just work out and say, fuck it. You can take the clank pill and be like, hey, yeah, things are fucked up. Let's try to improve ourselves so that we can collectively try to improve everything else. BW, to be honest, the state of UK and EU and last night's scene in Portland got me black-pilled a little. Everyone who watches Styx needs to see at least first Matrix. The Matrix is a very good movie. Swamp Donkey. Also, the leftists like Keir Starmer, Keir Stammer, need to be naturalized, deported to non-white countries like Pakistan, Congo, or Sudan, so that he isn't harmed by white culture. Yeah, something like that. That would be funny. Send him to Madagascar. The British should just overrun Madagascar and turn it into a penal colony. That's what they did with Australia. So yeah, the FBI agents got fired as a result of this. But there's already a lawsuit, obviously. They're going to try to stand in the way. In the end, though, I'm pretty sure it's legal for a bureau to fire people for a breach of their duties. I don't think that you're supposed to do that when you're actively serving in the FBI. Like, you get the body armor and everything, you're supposed to, I don't know, protect the street corner or whatever, and you're just taking a knee in front of a bunch of protesters. You're showing political bias, and also in that particular position, you're less defensible. Well, the whole point is to potentially fight with people if necessary to do so, to defend yourself, another person, a location, something, so that would be unacceptable. Professor fighting dismissal for calling Charlie Kirk a Nazi. Handed legal win, fueling free speech debate. Attorneys weigh in on whether educators fired over celebratory Kirk posts have First Amendment case. This depends on what they said, and it depends on the educational system they were part of. Is it publicly or privately funded? If it's privately funded, it's more at-will employment, but also you can't really apply any other rules to it, so to speak. So that would be a separate issue. This is public that we're talking about. University of South Dakota, and so forth. If you are saying, well, I hate Charlie Kirk, good riddance, that is protected speech. You may get fired anyway. You're in a partially taxpayer-funded edifice. You can make a legal case for dismissal as a result. But you haven't made a terroristic threat. You haven't said something that would be otherwise illegal. If you're saying, hey, I wish there were 20 more Charlie Kirks, and by the way, I own a shotgun, that would probably cross the line. You're now making terroristic threats. You're insinuating that you intend to act violently towards other people. This is a fine line that we walk. And the Charlie Kirk assassination really has opened up this wound massively. I thought it was funny. Well, it's not, I mean, the situation's not funny, but, you know, in general, it's interesting that the left all of a sudden believes that free speech should be absolute. That you should be able to call in a bomb threat. Oh, well, there's no actual bomb, so it's okay. People online especially, but also in real life, have been canceled, they've been debanked, they've been physically assaulted for simply having relatively topical opinions that deviate from the uniparty / far left. At this point, on one end, they're basically conjoined. Meanwhile, people who are outside of that paradigm, who are not uniparty and or far left, are simply saying, we want you to face the same consequences that you wanted others to face for behavior that oftentimes is far beyond what, you know, we suffered under. They are not the same. Topical opinions were banned before. Now they're not. Topical opinions got you assaulted. But if you try to defend yourself against a mob of Antifa members, it's probably you that ends up getting arrested. And this needs to change. The fact is, though, that free speech should be ultimate. It is one of the founding goals of our entire country. It was free expression is one of the things that was most uplifted. If somebody simply says in a social media post, I don't give a shit if they're a professor or anything like that, unless they're if they're in the legal profession, if we're talking about a judge or a prosecutor or something, then that bias is unacceptable. But if they're just a professor at a public university, right? And they say, well, good riddance to Charlie Kirk. That's protected speech. You don't have to agree with it, but they should be allowed to say it. And it shouldn't be up to the university to punish them, by the way. It should be up to students, the other faculty, and the public to do what they want to do, so to speak. And it's much more effective, by the way. When you ban somebody for saying something that's not otherwise illegal, you actually empower their message. This is why the right rose up so quickly when the left was trying to persecute them. Had the opposite effect. But if the people at large reject the message, and they say, just fucking shut up, and they just start trolling them relentlessly, oftentimes they protect their tweets, they delete their Facebook page, they delete their LinkedIn and all of these other things, they sort of disappear. And then this harms them for the rest of their life. They get their punishment. Let us, we the people, do it, because we do it far, far better. That's what I think. Inland Surfer, hi Sticks, did you watch Kingdom of God, and how'd you like it? I think you mean Kingdom of Heaven? Yeah, I watched that the other day. It was excellent, actually. Cooking Inferno, maybe we should all finally vote to get Vermin Supreme elected. That'd be a blast. Yeah, Vermin Supreme's a leftoid too, though, I think. Not just a string. I'm in the UK, and even here we have good odds of fixing stuff. The natives are furious, so the will to fix things exists. Farage and Reform is weak, but even they're wary of moving Overton, so I'm hopeful. Yeah, I'm hoping the best for the people of the British Isles. More than half of my lineage comes from there, so... Swamp Donkey. The black pill is for cocks. Improve what you can, focus on what you can control. After a certain point, you will find yourself in a position to be able to change everything around you. Exactly. Last Beacon. Who would have thought that Escape from New York would have been a documentary? Yeah. Green Text Pro. Ahoy, mateys! We're putting together a crew of scallywags and buccaneers to sail the seven seas, plundering our way across all corners of the earth world over on kikers.net. Join us, free loot, arr. Last beacon. That's because for the most part it's all been outrage. That's just how the last 8 years, just outrage farming. Yeah, I know. And I try not to engage in outrage farming. It does happen with content creators, actually, sometimes. I think there's another chat over here, but I can't find it. Where is it? I can't fucking find it. Here's from the NHS over in the UK. This is the story that probably more people want to talk about. First cousin marriages has benefits, says NHS guidance, despite birth defect risks. Tory MP says health service should stop taking the knee to damaging cultural practices. Of course, it's correlated with other things such as human trafficking, rape, unwanted pregnancies, religious fanaticism. What religion could we possibly be discussing at the moment? Let's take a second to ponder that. I feel like I should light a pipe and have a book in front of me while I'm slowly pondering, why would the NHS all of a sudden say that incest is a good idea? What particular group of people are associated with incest? I thought it was American hillbillies, supposedly us toothless kinds wandering around out in them mountains. We's always perving on our cousins. But it's fairly scant. It doesn't happen very often. But if you look at certain parts of the world due to cultural traditions, and many of these people have immigrated to the UK and parts of Europe, it is very common. Consanguineous marriage is above 20% in some countries in the world. Now, if somebody does some cousin loving, it's probably not going to immediately cause genetic problems. But if this continues over a period of multiple generations, it is very likely. With each roll of the dice, you can get the wrong number. With each roll of the dice, it becomes more and more risky. And so the problem with close marriage, first cousin generally is the cutoff in most countries. Sometimes it's second cousin, actually. They go even further. Your odds, if you have any recessive alleles for genetic defects, the odds that you both carry it and therefore potentially pass it on are higher. It all has to do with genetics. If you had a perfectly healthy population, so let's say that they had no genetic defects, dominant or recessive, nothing, no problems whatsoever, they could marry their own fucking parents and have children and they'd be perfectly healthy. But that population does not exist. The fact is that virtually everyone carries at least a few genetic defects. In fact, probably everyone. The problem is that over generations this compounds. This was the problem in ancient Egypt. They had a bunch of deformed royalty because they kept marrying their brothers and sisters. They wanted to keep it all in the family to keep the lineage together. This became a problem, leading possibly, by the way, to the assassination of Tutankhamun, because he was deformed. Because I believe he was the result of first cousin marriage, if I remember correctly. Happens all the time. It's still happening all the time in parts of the world that blame depleted uranium or toxic waste for all of the birth defects, despite the fairly obvious cause, by the way. So, I mean, the UK is now saying it's okay, and let's face it, this is because of certain outside groups that have settled there. It's political correctness writ large. Oh yeah, it's okay, you know, fuck your brother, fuck your sister, fuck your mama, fuck your father, fuck your own kids. It literally doesn't matter anymore. Incest is great. That appears to be what they're saying here. Yeah, you know, have sex with your cousin. Well, I mean, you know, if you want to. I do not believe, by the way, that cousin loving should be illegal. But I certainly do not believe that it should be extolled as some sort of great thing. Oh, it has health benefits. Bullshit. What health benefits? The only benefit they list, well, it causes closer relationship ties, closer family ties. That's not a health benefit. That's a social benefit. And even then, in most cases where you're getting that kind of arrangement in the UK, you're getting effectively religious fanaticism. You're getting coercion. Do you really think that those girls want to marry their male cousin? 99% of them, I bet that they don't. I bet that they're not interested. But then the family says basically, we'll disown you, put you out of house and home with literally nothing, and force you out on the street unless you marry your cousin. That's what's happening, and that's what the health service there in the UK is promoting. It's sickening, actually. Lunar Eclipse Sticks, why do you really think Israel really hates the USA? I don't think Israel hates the USA. I mean, the government is certainly no particular fan of the current administration, though, because they'll actually tell them that they need to knock it off. You notice that they've ignored Trump on several occasions. He does not seem happy about this. Last speaking, I wouldn't have to agree that the FBI needs to be phased out. I'm still fundamentally pissed at what they did to me in 2018, as well as what Facebook did to me in 2017 and 2018. Yeah, I think that the FBI should just be disbanded. Disbanded, rather. Sorry. Swamp Donkey. The grooming gangs, the people who commit SA crimes should be emasculated in public, salt the wound, then put them on a pike. That works. Cooking Inferno. Anyone liking first cousin marriages should check out Charles V and what a Habsburg chin is all about. Oh yeah, dude's all fucked up. Dude looked like Rocky Dennis from Mask. I think he looks a little bit like Beavis, actually. His jaw like sticks out like 2 extra inches or some shit like that. He looks like Beavis from Beavis and Butthead. And there are people that are like deformed from intergenerational cousin loving and stuff like that. But the stereotype is that this is mainly like rural Appalachia where people have an 8th grade education and, they use horseradish as medicine and stuff. The reality, though, is it mainly happens in the Middle East and South Asia. Those are disproportionately the places that people are coming into the United Kingdom from. So it doesn't really surprise me that the extreme far left government of the UK, which is what it is, it's not just liberal, it's far, far left. It's to the left of Bernie Sanders. It makes sense that they would support such a thing at this time. Last speaking, and that's what really pisses me off about Never Trumpers. It's become clout-seeking. True. Queen of Biltong is here. Don't marry your cousin, eat biltong because it tastes better. I guess, according to some, it probably depends on the cousin. Use code STICKS for 10% off. We are officially online only until we get our next shop running in Sunset, Texas. BiltongUSA.com. Thank you very much. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about the biltong operation, considering how good the product is. Again, I don't go with sponsors if I don't really like their products. I will vouch for them all. You'll do just fine with that good shit. Last speaking, I understand where you're coming from. I just seen too much death of my family within the past 15 years. That sucks. Swamp Donkey. Medievals speak in medieval ways. They only understand that language. We should learn and become fluent in it. Then they would understand. I do get what reference you're making, by the way. Yeah, watch Kingdom of Heaven. I'd give that movie an 8 out of 10, by the way. Orlando Bloom as the main role, by the way. Really well acted. The battle scenes were extreme. There's a lot of gore in it, so, if you get a, goofy stomach, you might not be able to stomach that movie. There's one part, I'll give you just one spoiler. There's this one scene in which there's a skirmish going on and the dude brings his sword down and he chops the dude from here to here and lops off the whole side of his body. So I liked that. Hey, what can I say? I like war movies. Last speaking. I mean, my God, it'll be almost 10 years on October 6th since my dad had a critical heart attack and I almost lost him after I lost my Uncle Randy. Yeah. Attrition accumulates, as Colin Newman would say. Well, damage accumulates. The damage accumulates still moved me to tears. Lunar eclipse. Sticks, Israel's greatest ally, yet why attack USS Liberty? Film Twin Towers, steal our technology, sell to? Didn't Israel also fund jihadists in Syria? Yeah, so did the United States with the FSA, actually. The FSA was a terrorist organization, I think still semi-functional, but the United States backed them anyway, simply because ISIS was worse. And it never made any sense, because we should have sided with fucking Bashar al-Assad, actually. We should have been supporting him, but the Obama regime wanted their Arab Spring. And it's exactly like something else. I wonder if anyone else has made this connection. We funded and backed the FSA as an alternative to something ostensibly worse. How's that different from Fast and Furious when we were arming the Sinaloa because there was another cartel that was more violent? It is no different. They're fundamentally the same concept. It's the enemy of my enemy is my friend sort of argument, and it doesn't really work anymore for the most part. Last weekend, the whole calling the right Nazis is exactly why I want to get out of this country. America is going to become a third world shit pile simply because we won't kiss the altar of democracy. No, it won't. Not as long as people like me exist. I refuse to be black-pilled. Justin Brox, do you eat raw meat? If you count sushi, yeah. I did have, one time, I did have raw bacon when I was in the Netherlands. Raw pork. It's basically a thinly shaved bacon. It's perfectly safe to eat. But I just didn't understand why you would want to eat it. Compared to actual nice crispy bacon, not too crispy, it's got to be at that stage where it's still a little bit pliable, kind of a little bit leathery, but it's, cooked through. If it's at that level, it's like a level 4 out of 5 bacon cooking method that I use. And, it was, the taste was okay, but it was gelatinous. So I'll just take my bacon cooked. Thank you very much. But I do like sushi. Have I eaten any other raw meats? Other than the bacon in the Netherlands? I don't think so, actually. Ugh, over easy mode, steak tartare. I tried a bite. Yuck. Again, it's like, why would I want to eat goo when I can take this meat, I can take the exact same meat, hash it together with some herbs and spices, maybe throw some scallions on it, press it out, and then you put it on the pan, and you cook it, and it's much, much better. I'm not interested in, the Germans, they eat steak tartare apparently regularly, and the Dutch eat raw pork. It's like, I know that the meat is safe, I know that there's no parasites in it or anything like that because of your stringent standards, but why? Why do you want it to be all chewy and gooey instead of being meat? It's supposed to be cooked. Now, cooking it extra rare, if you really, really slow cook, a beef joint on a fire, I'm assuming that would be absolutely delectable. But it's cooked. That's the whole point. There's some texture in it. You've cooked it. We invented cooking for a reason. Fire exists for a reason. It is proof that the Lord your God, who you shall bow before, needs you to cook your food before you eat it. Last beacon, which also shows that the left are nothing more than spoiled children when it comes towards their free speech. True. Cooking Inferno sticks, you gotta try beef carpaccio sometime. One of my favorite things in life. I've already tried it, yeah, that was pretty good. Snakes bleed red. Eating raw pork is insane. If it's from the Netherlands, I assure you that it's safe. It's just, why? I just don't understand it. You've got all of these pork products, and pork, by the way, being very cheap in the Netherlands for some reason. Much cheaper than here in the USA, which is going some. Why not cook it? Some people like their bacon just lightly cooked. Okay, but it's cooked, right? Some people like it extremely crispy. Liz likes it that way, for example, which I always found funny. It's like, okay, well, it's half charcoal now, but, you do you. I like it at, the level 3.5 to 4. So at level 1, you've barely cooked it. It's still like, all flabby. At level 2, it's starting to harden up maybe a little bit, and it's still pretty wiggly. Level 3 is fine. Level 3 would be like, it's mostly bendable, but it's starting to char a little bit on the edges. At 4, which is what I like, it's beginning to fully brown. And, you still get all the juices. And by the way, save your bacon grease. Cook other things in it. Trust me, it adds a lot of flavor. Level 5 is like basically eating charcoal, in my opinion. I'm not a big fan of overdone pork either. Swamp Donkey. Styx confirmed loves to take meat. Loud gay moan. Inland Surfer. After watching Kingdom of Heaven, the life of King Baldwin himself could be an interesting movie subject. Yeah, it's an interesting topic, actually. A lot of crazy shit went on around that period of time. Noonrick Clip. Styx, when is the last time you tweeted at Trump? Maybe you should go to the White House. Pressure Trump to demand immediate ceasefire in both Ukraine and Israel. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Ronald Simmons, McRib is back. I've never had one. My dad, one time, he was working at the Holiday Inn locally, and as a chef, he was the head chef. He worked in that. He worked at that for more than 30 years, actually. He was the head chef of the Mountain Creamery, which has since moved from Central Woodstock to West Woodstock in Vermont, here in Vermont, and then worked at the Hampton Inn for a while. Or was it the Hampton? I can't remember which hotel it was. Anyway, he worked at a hotel, and he was the chef, and cooked all sorts of shit. But he would get these gigantic racks of fucking pork ribs on the bone, by the way, heavily marinated, and they were absolutely goddamn delicious. They were amazing. Oh, the Holiday Inn, that's the one that he worked at. Yeah, they were slow cooked to perfection. The meat fell right off the bone, and it was messy, but it was real tasty. I wish I could prepare ribs like that. I've gotten the cooking gene, but I don't know that I would be able to prepare a rack of ribs. Not unless it was pre-marinated. Although, I do have a marinade for Asian-style pork, and I'm going to be trying that soon. The kind that you get like in the Chinese restaurant, only homemade, and with more marinade. Because that's what adds the flavor. Live Beacon, I believe that reform will win, which is rather ironic, to say the least. It would be funny. Yeah. John Hoyle, ribs and an ear of corn. Yeah, we had corn on the cob a few days ago. I love that. The last time I had it, I asked people how they ate it, because I always do the typewriter method, where you, go in a line. Yeah. Some people do it vertically. I do it horizontally. I do it the old school way. I'm part of the old school of this. Over easy mode, I can teach you how to make Korean barbecue. Oh, God, that sounds good. Yeah, Korean food's great. Kimchi is wonderful. I researched kimchi briefly, and apparently the original kimchi was not actually spiced. That was introduced by Europeans. The idea of making kimchi spicy instead of more like a, sort of like a sauerkraut-ish pickly mix, fermented, actually that arises later. The original was just basically fermented in pots, put in the soil. Bobby Bobbinson. Hey, Bobby Bobbinson. I'm going to do that every time you chat. Styx, you should debate Melanie Mack on Jesus. She wants to debate you and has a crush on you. The latter, I doubt considerably. As to the former, yeah, I mean, I could debate religion. That'd be fun. Over easy mode. I can teach you how to make kimchi too. There are hundreds of different types. Yeah, my dad would be the only person in the world able to get obese on kimchi if I learned how to make it because he can't get enough of it. I get him kimchi fairly regularly as a gift for like Father's Day or something like that. Last speaking, I can't find that super chat. Oh, I don't know. No, Tard and Feather, do not slice the corn from the cob. My uncle does that. And every time he does that, I'm like, Jesus H. Christ. Because he got dentures, I suppose, so it's a little bit different. No. I will take the cob. And by the way, those little prong things that you hold the cob with, fuck the shit. I want the butter all over my hands. I'm going to smear it with butter while it's extra hot. Let it melt in, get nice and buttery. Chop, 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 chop. Chop, chop, chop. And I'll do it like that. Will you get some corn in your teeth? Yeah. Will you make a mess? Maybe a little bit. Is it the most delicious way to eat corn on the cob? Yes. The only other way for corn on the cob to be truly perfect is if you chop it up into pieces and put it into a chowder. Corn chowder or a seafood chowder. You gotta get the corn in there. Yeah, steaks bleed red. Put it on a drill and eat it. I think I saw a video once of someone trying to do that and it took one of their teeth out, actually. If I remember correctly. Maybe I'm misremembering. I don't know. Justin Bronx, brother, you look like famous YouTuber Penguin Zio. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who that is. Let me see. Can we get to... oh, yeah. I wanted to get to this news story, actually. We'll go back to bans in a minute. Don't bet on casinos, New York. They have downed 3 different proposals already in Manhattan for different locations to make like a mega casino. I happen to support this particular concept. Putting a casino in the middle of New York City makes absolutely no sense. The commercial value of that real estate and the tourism that it draws in and everything else far outweighs the amount of money that you're going to make off one fucking casino. Then they said, I think it was, Hudson Pier or something like that. They were Hudson Yards and near the United Nations buildings, and then, of course, in Times Square. Now, I don't doubt that if you had a casino in Times Square, it would make a shit ton of money. But imagine the money that you're losing. You need more police because you're going to have more criminal activity around there. Casinos tend to spawn that, so that's problem number 1. You're going to need, also, you're going to be forcing somebody else out because everything in Manhattan's been fully developed anyway, so somebody else has to go. You're going to get noise complaints. You're going to get various problems. You're going to have to pour a lot of money in to make the money. I don't understand why that would be wise, cost-effectively. I don't understand why you would want to have a casino in Times Square. It makes no sense, or in any of these other locations. So, effectively, what was originally something that they expected to pass resoundingly got downed on 3 different occasions by 3 different communities. Good. New York City does not need to have a mega casino in the middle of the town. I'm going to grow nostalgic here and allow myself to do so for just a minute. Have you ever played SimCity 3000? What do we know about casinos? Casinos can bring in money, but the amount of money that you spend in order to reduce the crime rate and all the other problems attendant with it makes it basically not worth it. Same with most of the structures. Other than the Supermax prison, that's the only one, that in the military base, the only ones that'll bring in money and actually are manageable and actually cost effective. It makes no sense to build a casino there. Plus, people are already milling around. Most of the people going to Manhattan, they're taking selfies and they're going to buy Prada and stuff like that. Or going to get a meal. They're not there for a casino. So it might not work anyway. Do you want another Atlantic City episode? Because that's what you might very well get. I've never... one time when I was a kid, I was briefly inside of a casino with my parents. But it was one of those casinos where it's just like, you get fake coins and stuff like that. It was more of an arcade than a casino, I suppose. I hate gambling, honestly. Hate it. I don't play the lottery. I don't do scratch-off tickets. I look down on all of these things. It's a bunch of bullshit. Spider Eternal had a spiritual shakeup after Kirk. I feel trapped between Christianity telling me accept Jesus or be obliterated, and the Gnostics telling me my soul will be devoured by the demiurge if I do. Help. Become a pagan and stop caring about this nonsense. Cooking Inferno. Corn. One of the few foods you'll see again in the same shape as it went in. Yeah. Spider. Any recommendations? Reading or otherwise? I would look beyond both of them. Just follow your heart, I suppose. And your brain, preferably. Sometimes people in religions, they follow one or the other, but not both. That's the best advice that I can give. Can give you further advice, but I have my own biases and leanings as well. Last Beacon, in all honesty, it just feels like the worst type of Rick and Morty script written is we know who you are. Let's get swifty, yeah. Shit on the floor. Last Beacon, I was talking about your incest bit, I mean. Yeah. I get the reference. Copium, poppies, sticks, check your DMs. I sent you a couple tracks in this band called Vulcan. Definitely check them out. Particularly the first track I sent, This Visual Hex. Thank you. Last Beacon, I would laugh my ass off if the FBI was disbanded. It would be such poetic justice. Well, technically, they were supposed to be a temporary agency. They were never meant to be permanently incepted. That was back in the gangland days. It was to confront, bootleggers and people with Tommy guns and stuff. Well, they don't really have that anymore. The problem is that bureaucracy, it's not like the military. So over time, the U.S. military has had to adapt to different field strategies. What's the climate? What's the terrain? What's our manpower? What's their manpower? What weapons are they using? How big is the geographic area? All of these things have to be considered. But with the FBI and other bureaus, they're very, very slow. They have not reformulated the way that they do business in any considerable fashion other than very, very slowly since they were originally incepted. So they're still geared towards trying to stop the bootleggers and Tommy gun people with the rat rods and stuff like that. That's still technically what they're geared towards. That and cyber warfare. So it doesn't really make any sense. It's this weird hybrid system where it's both, 1935 and 2025 at the same time. That's why they're ineffective. So what they really need to do is completely reformulate at a bare minimum. I would say just disband them. I would say get rid of the FBI. It's not necessary anymore. Who's bootlegging? Alcohol's legal now. Temperance is over. What the fuck? So yeah, as far as New York casinos go, it's a bad idea. You're going to reduce tourism, probably, because it's going to be big and gaudy, and, people go in there, they'll spend all their money there, and lose it, mostly, and then they're not spending money at other places, because they lost all their money at the fucking casino. So as long as there's an absence of casinos and shit like that, hopefully they're spending money at other businesses. If I was a business owner in Manhattan, especially around Times Square, which means you'd be rich, I'd be saying, hell no. I don't want a fucking casino here. Lemon curd. Hey, Copium. I had hoped Styx's presence had already arrived, but alas, it arrives later today. Tarred and feathered. The amount of dye they use to turn carrots orange makes them toxic. They're not dyed. Carrots, one of the greatest gifts to the world that the cosmos have ever created. I love fucking carrots. Well, that sounded wrong. That's going to be clipped out. Somebody's going to put that up. I love fucking carrots. Yeah, they're just great. I like to chop them up into big pieces and put them in like a stew. God, I gotta make stew soon. It's going to be warm for the next couple of days, but then the bottom is going to drop out, and it's going to be like 60 or 55. So it might be stew time. We shall see. Styx is a veggie fucker. Yeah. Yeah, that came out wrong. Google admits censorship under Biden. YouTube welcomes back MAGA. Kind of. It depends on where you are in MAGA, I suppose. Yeah, YouTube has decided instead of banning people for supporting populism, it's just going to algorithmically demote them into irrelevance. Case in point, virtually every content creator formerly subject to potentially being banned, myself being one of them. Last weekend, yes, attrition and damage accumulate. I know this all too well and it's haunted me. I can feel death laughing at me. Yes, I know what it's like to feel exactly the way that you do because I feel the same way, but we have to keep on a bright face and keep fighting. Yeah, Google, no shit. Google decided to ban things that didn't violate their terms of use. No, really? No, not Google. YouTube would never do that. It's all about express yourself. Don't be evil and stuff. That's just corporate branding. In reality, it was really just a gig to try to consolidate the content creation in order to then comptrol it more than anything else. I have a feeling it was a sort of long-term psyop. There's a reason why I'm selling off my YouTube play button, and I'll be posting that listing tomorrow since nobody has come forward with something that would approximate what I'm looking for. I don't know how much you get. I don't give a shit. YouTube has basically, I believe, was incepted in part to drive everyone to one creative location in which they could create content. It would become massive, massively viral. They could absorb the overhead. They had no problem with this. And then to the exclusion of competitors, so basically forming a monopoly, which slowly over time became more and more censored. I believe that that is what happened. Last weekend, yes, because of one reason, Barack Obama, and he's part of the reason we're in fucking Ukraine right now. True. So yeah, that's the last news story that I'm going to do. A Daily Llama to our UK viewers. John has a long mustache. The chair is against the wall. I have no clue what the fuck that refers to. Ronald Simmons, first Apple computer sold for $666.66. I'm sure that's just a coincidence. It was probably some sort of weird joke. These people are not exactly normal. Oh yeah, we did have, I think there was one other thing that I wanted to cover. If I could. Oh yeah, I'm going to be making a video on this probably tomorrow as well. But in New York State, they're giving out inflation refund checks, up to $400, depending on your eligibility. It depends on whether you filed singularly or couple, how much you made, and so forth. Yeah, they're giving inflation refund checks. I've got two glaring questions. Number one, since this comes from the taxpayer coffers, aren't you effectively robbing people in order to give money to other people? And you're not just robbing the rich, by the way, because that sort of income wouldn't even be able to come from them. You're also robbing people who are making six figures, but then you're giving them back a portion of the money you robbed from them. That's really sensible. Number two, how is this going to help? Because $400 right now will buy, like, what? A couple of carts of groceries? Assuming that you're cutting corners? So, who gives a fucking shit? It makes no sense whatsoever. And by the way, why didn't you do this under the Biden administration when inflation became a problem? Was it because you didn't want to rock the boat? You didn't want people to know that inflation really was bad? So you decided to hamper giving them relief until the other guy was president. Because then it makes Trump look bad. Well, look, Trump is reigning over high inflation. Yeah, that was caused by the last dude, but now all of a sudden you're giving people checks from the state treasury. This is completely retarded. It makes absolutely no sense. I'm gonna talk about this more at length tomorrow. By the way, this will not stimulate your economy. It will not be of any help to the average person. The conditions are so stringent that it's not even going to get to half of these people. Then there's a separate warning with regards to scams involving this, where people are trying to skeeve on others' information in order to get their rebate. You've got every mess possible with this. It just shows that the liberals don't know what the hell they're doing. I mean, it's quite clear. Read the fucking article, dude. Inflation refund checks up to $400 are now being mailed to over 8 million people. Here's who is eligible. Some people. And other people are getting robbed. And then some people are getting scammed. And it really won't help anyway because, you know, what is that? 2 weeks worth of groceries or something like that for a family of 2. Last beacon. Also, what I mean by we're in fucking Ukraine right now because of Edward Snowden. Copium poppies. Instead of Americans paying taxes, we should tax the other NATO nations. That would be funny. Copium poppies. I'll give you 10 pounds of candy corn for the play button. Yeah, no, brah. No. No, I will only accept cash on this one. It's like, you know, you get to the point where you're like, it's just hanging on the wall anyway. And YouTube is a dying site at this point to begin with, other than for musical purposes. It's the world's greatest jukebox that's ever been created. But for actual content creation, you know, something with a soul, something with a mind that's intelligent, it's no longer really the place to be, honestly. Which is really sad because they had such a good thing going, all they had to do was keep doing it. But then they decided to switch up pretty much everything about their website. They've been doing this since 2015-ish. Well, technically 2014, I would say. BW, damn it, Sticks, you should have movie night on Rumble. That could be fun. Yeah, movie with commentary. The thing is, I like to... I'm not good at multitasking when I'm typing or talking. When I'm communicating, I cannot really multitask. But if I'm just watching a movie or doing something like that, I could have the movie on, be giving random crazy-ass statements, and be building, like, the Lego pirate ship at the same time, so that'd be funny. Lemon Curd. We could watch that werewolf movie you like. Brotherhood of the Wolf. Great movie, my favorite. Bobby, lol, that tells you how little he actually reads in chat. Do you expect me to keep up a running commentary here while consulting other articles in a different window while replying to literally everybody? It is impossible. VW, The Matrix. Yes, The Matrix is good. The Dead Knight Tiger. Liberal is an anagram of Braille. Coincidence? Oh, yeah, you're correct. Yeah, I suppose because, you know, they need extra help understanding things. Oh, Bobby. No, it's just that Bussy Wigger spammed that message over and over, lol. Yeah, I tend to ignore people who do minor spamming. Anyways, I'm going on an hour and 15. Oh, please don't send any more super chats or rumble rants. He needs some milk. Good Monday, Sticks. Here's a quick inflation check, courtesy of a longtime viewer. Have a coffee or beer on me. Clank. Thank you very much. That's what I'm talking about. But yeah, I've got to go off here. I mean, I've got half the docket cleared for tomorrow, so that's not a problem. But I wanted to do some other stuff. I've got some book writing actually to do. Yes, indeed. I've completed half of the Fanatic Files section for Morbid Stories 2. And that's the 4th section, I think. And I'm probably going to have to move the last section actually to a different work entirely. It's going to be a work of like sarcastic ads and stuff like that. I'll probably turn it into a novella. That particular one, I'm having a great deal of fun actually writing that. It's like advertisements for different things, like services or goods, but they're just completely off the chain and generally inappropriate and make no sense. It's a pet project of mine. It's not something that I expect to be a bestseller. It's just something that I want to release just to have released it. With Morbid Stories 2, though, I think I'll definitely get to over 300 pages with those main sections. I'm probably going to go beyond the 355, so I might actually need to parse it down. I think that I'm going to overshoot rather than undershoot. Anything that's left over, I'll simply carry over to a different work. I guess there will be a Morbid Stories 3 or an addendum or something like that. I enjoy writing, what can I say? I can write hundreds of pages of work in a single week. It's not actually that difficult. I have fun doing it too. So yeah, I'm going to go offline, and no, Bobby, I did not have any gay adventures in NOLA. I am super straight. So, I'm going to go offline. I will docket a few other things, really briefly, and then I'm going to go write. That's about all. Peace out.